Sedition is a crime. Sedition is a serious crime, one with a 20-year prison sentence. Seditious conspiracy is a conspiracy to use force to stop the U.S. government from carrying out its laws or to overthrow the government. Sedition and seditious conspiracy are crimes for obvious reasons. But in modern American life, the U.S. Justice Department has had a heck of a time actually securing convictions when they charge people with that crime. And all of us who can observe that modern history know that. You can just see that in the history of modern sedition prosecutions. There's all of these incredibly dangerous people charged with incredibly terrible things, with incredibly damning evidence brought against them, who are nevertheless acquitted because the crime is so hard to prove in court. We can all observe that just as citizens, seeing when these high-profile, sort of hair-curling prosecutions are brought. We can all see it. But you know who can really see it? Prosecutors who work for the U.S. Department of Justice. They really know acutely how hard it is to get a prosecution in a sedition case. They know it even more acutely than we do because the acquittals in those big, high-profile failed sedition cases, those loom very large in the history of high-stakes, highly charged, failed prosecutions by the U.S. Department of Justice. Federal prosecutors know this history very well, and they therefore know not to bring sedition charges lightly. And yet, here we are. In January of this year, the U.S. Justice Department brought seditious conspiracy charges against 11 members of the Oath Keepers, a right-wing, pro-Trump paramilitary group that allegedly played a key role in the violent attack on the U.S. Capitol to try to keep Trump in power on January 6th of last year. Since that sedition indictment in January, 3 different members of the Oath Keepers have pled guilty and started cooperating with police. In April of this year, there was another guilty plea, another cooperation deal with a member of a different right-wing pro-Trump paramilitary group, the so-called Proud Boys. And now today, 5 members of the Proud Boys have themselves been hit with seditious conspiracy charges. And I know this may sort of feel like a continuation of that earlier story from January, but I cannot underscore strongly enough how unusual it is and what a big deal it is at the U.S. Justice Department for sedition charges, for seditious conspiracy charges to be charged by the U.S. Justice Department. I mean, in modern times, sedition charges are rare enough and a risky enough prosecution effort that there are literally books written about every modern case in which sedition has been charged by the government, because it is such a big deal when they do it. It is so rare and it is so high stakes. I mean, if you're under the age of 100 and you were going to go to work as a federal prosecutor for the U.S. Justice Department, it would be a pretty good bet that you would never see this particular charge brought against anyone ever in your entire career. And yet now here we are. 16 people from 2 different paramilitary groups charged in 2 different sedition indictments in the space of 6 months. The Oath Keepers seditious conspiracy indictment brought in January. Now the Proud Boys seditious conspiracy indictment brought today. Both related to the January 6th violent attack on the U.S. Capitol to try to overthrow the U.S. government, to try to prevent President Biden from taking office. The fact that Justice Department prosecutors have brought these cases, knowing the history of how difficult it is to secure a conviction in cases like this, the fact that they have brought these cases against 2 different groups over the course of 6 months implies a certain confidence on the part of the Justice Department about what a good case they've got. I really do think that by the Justice Department's own history, prosecutors are sort of hardwired to not use these particular charges unless they really feel like they've got it dead to rights. But now they've done it. They did it in January. They did it again today.